right, we're talking about godly motivations and how to stack enough motivations. This is Godly Manhood. We're talking about how to stack enough motivations to tip you into action. And so here's an important tip moving towards that. All right, again, last video we broke down all of the different motivations. That's the kind of the core of this. You really need to watch that video. But here's an important tip. Pick a better hobby. Some of you need to find a hobby that's healthy for you. Many of you have hobbies that are neutral and sometimes negative for you. So you need to add to and make more prominent a positive hobby for your life. A friend of mine said, Andy Bailey, he said, there are hobbies that are stackable and there are hobbies that isolate you. And he's right. So let me help you figure that out. A nostalgia-powered hobby is helpful. A sport you've played before and thoroughly enjoyed because it has staying power, it has momentum, it has longevity for you. If you have a physical limitation that keeps you from doing one of those things you used to do, consider physical therapy. Physical therapy YouTube, ease in. You can watch Knees Over Toes guy. You can get healthy again. When I first started training again, I was in physical therapy 3 times, constantly dealt with injury for 18 months before I got healthy and have been since. In Masters Track and Field, I'm watching 90-year-olds sprint every meet, and it's awesome. So it is absolutely possible. There's probably a reason you like that activity in the first place, that nostalgia activity. And you're probably wired for it, so use that to your advantage. Or try a hobby that's maybe a toned-down version of the other. Try a hobby that energizes you. Notice this. You won't know until you try. Maybe there's things that you haven't tried yet that will energize you. It might be something new. You don't have to look at those. Everyone's raving about pickleball. And there's probably good reason for that. Maybe you would too if you tried it. So, why? Because you'll find yourself spinning your wheels and demotivated, possibly, if you don't pick an effective hobby for you. Sometimes we don't even know what our talents are yet. In 7th grade, I was playing 8th grade on the 8th grade basketball team, and I had the game of my life. I scored 22 points in a 28-minute game. I had probably scored the best before that was 10 points in a game. I was hitting shots from everywhere. I was getting fouled, 3-point plays, the whole bit. The game finished. I started walking I was on cloud 9. I was stoked out of my mind. I was walking toward the locker room. And in the short walk to the locker room, I passed some people who had come to watch the game. And unsolicited 3 different adults who hadn't talked to each other all said the same 3 words as excitedly and as passionately as possible. They said, "You're so fast." And that deflated me completely. Took all the air out of my balloon. And I wasn't even sure why at the moment, but I just had the game of my life. As I processed later, I figured out I just had the game of my life. I was scoring from all over the court, and no one said, "You're awesome at basketball." You had some amazing shots. What a great future you have in this. No, nothing about my basketball playing. Just, "You're so fast." And that, as deflating as that was, I processed that later with my parents, with my brothers, with the Lord. And it was actually helpful and clarifying to me. They weren't trying to deflate me. Understand that. They were trying to encourage me. And it was simply honesty at work. They saw a thing and commented. And I realized in that moment, no matter how many shots I made, my real talent was always sprinting. And I kind of knew that. Because I've been winning races in every setting possible since I was tiny. But that moment became a definer for me, and I started investing in track and field, which proved to be the right choice. I looked at how tall my parents were, and I'm like, basketball's probably not going to work out so great, so maybe I should invest in something else. And I discovered what I really liked and what I was really wired for and my true talent. Try things. Here's the next thing. I have a niece named Allison. She's awesome. She invested in volleyball in middle school and high school, traveled, spent all the time practicing, training, spent money, and got to her senior year, and it was still a disappointment, wasn't playing as much as she really felt like she should have. She was deflated by it. And she had decided to sign up for cross country during the same season as volleyball, playing both sports. And her motivation was just to run with her sister, who's a freshman. Social family motivation, good motivation. And as a senior, first time running cross country, which is like a 5K race in high school, long race. She got faster and faster until she broke her school records. She ended up 6th in the state of Pennsylvania, the large schools in the high school, large schools. She ranked in the nation and received a full ride scholarship to run NCAA Division I at the University of Richmond, where she is at the time of this video, doing awesome. So sometimes you don't know what your talent is. Sometimes you got to try things. Maybe you don't know. Like I've always been good at XYZ. Everyone everywhere is good at that. What if they aren't? What if you're talented? All right. Emotional motivations wiring. Romance, passionate rabbit holes of knowledge, success, etc. I have people in my life that are driven emotionally, like my son. He's driven a lot emotionally. Some of us men are wired that way. He's not necessarily wired by discipline yet, by rigor yet. He needs to be passionate. He needs to invest in a rabbit hole of knowledge. Have, a girl he's pining after. Let's be real. Have kids and teachers pushing him. Social motivations, peer pressure, and then maybe he'll do something without us asking. But you need to recognize how you're wired. It's not a right or wrong. Recognize how you're wired and start stacking those motivations. If you're not driven by discipline, consider whether you're driven by emotions. And then start stacking those motivations. Know yourself. Ask a friend, a mentor, a family member, and let God help to show you. Once again, stack motivations. Now, let me tell you what is not a great motivator for long-term disciplines. Fear. We have everyone telling us we're going to die early, comorbidities, yet we still eat all the nasty and sit and lay 24 hours or 22 hours a day. Or, it's just our give a crap meter doesn't really register that kind of fear as a regular habit motivator. So, don't use it. Start stacking the positive motivators. And I want to leave this with you before you go and rank the motivators and do all that. So, this is a word that I feel like the Lord gave me. What if it's not over? My first national championship competition in Masters Track and Field was in 2023. Okay, I went with high expectation. I was ranked highly. I had done some college meets and had done, and was ranked pretty well. I felt great. I was hitting personal records at the time. I was competing with the college kids. And I get to the competition, and I scratched all 3 times on the long jump. Now, you have to hit a legal jump in one of those first 3 to even get the next 3. So you could get 6 jumps in that championship. I didn't even get a valid jump for the entire competition. It was an epic fail. I was deflated. I was demoralized. And my wife had to listen to me moan about it and complain about it the whole way back from Indiana. And the Lord gave me one phrase the day after the competition at church. Get your butt in church, guys, because that matters. But he gave me the word, what if it's not over? And that shifted me. And I re-engaged in training. I found other meets to compete in. And 2 years later, I went back to the same meet, the Indoor National Championship. And not only did I get a fair jump, but I won the competition as the national long jump champion in the men's 40 to 44 division. In fact, I would have won it on my first jump. I had a better jump my second one. I would have won it on that first jump. So the question for you is, what if it's not over? What if God is just beginning to use you? What if God can still fashion you into a warrior? What if your motivations are not stuck? What if that's a key and linchpin to unlocking so much more human flourishing that God wants for you, and everyone around you is going to benefit from you? Because your flourishing is not just about you. When you flourish, everyone around you is lifted up. So lock this in. If you haven't done it already, from the last teaching, go into that What Motivates You handout and admit what drives you. Put percentages on it, okay? Take the time to look through all those listings of motivations, different kinds of motivations, and think about one thing you can do right now, one thing you can do this week, one thing you can do in the next season, and then start just checking them off until you stack enough motivations that tips you into action. All right. Bless you. We'll see you in the next one.